Hey, folks. We just thought we'd get together real fast and talk a little bit about an upcoming event with Rob Scott.
Yeah, so Rob was in our UTOK Circle. For those of you who don't know, UTOK Circle is our online community for UTOK and related topics, related interests. If you're not part of the UTOK Circle, yeah, we're going to leave an invitation link in the description. And that way you can join, if you want to talk to like-minded people, participate in events, discussions. We have a regular weekly meeting. So we have that going every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So you can come and chat and bring questions, comments, whatever, just engage in network. It's a very good community in that sense. And sometimes we have events, we have invited guests, including Rob Scott, who came recently and did an amazing presentation on his work. We engaged in some really good discussions and follow-up discussions after that session. And we thought we would invite him back again this coming Thursday, the 10th, August 10th. And we thought it would be nice to do this brief video to explore his work a little bit more and learn about the intersections with UTOK. Because, I know, Greg, that there is some central influence from Rob in UTOK and some key aspects of UTOK. And so that's a super interesting field for us to explore. So why
Totally.
don't you start by just telling people about how you came about Rob's work and what were your first impressions? Share some of that, please.
Amen. Yeah. So Rob and I hooked up, I don't know, I think it was like 2019. And he had seen some of my stuff on YouTube and talking about UTalk and was really actually it wasn't even named at that time. I'll give a shout out to Rob. He helped me frame and name it in 2020.
He
As he
named
was
UTOK.
he
That's
helped name UTOK. Absolutely. He's like, what is this thing that you're really doing? And then I was like, I think it's the unified theory of knowledge. That's the frame. He's like, boom. Yeah, that sounds right. And then helped me with some of the design of the website and things like that. So Rob's a great friend. But more importantly for this, for people really out there at a general level, I think Rob has got some really profound insights in terms of his story is very compelling. He's public about this. He went through a very tough childhood, was having difficulty functioning, and then at 19, he wakes up in a particular way. Now, what I was going through when I hit Rob, I was going through some rough patch, or at least kind of coming off that. And what I learned from Rob was he was able to consolidate some of the insights that I had from UTalk and from psychotherapy and from the Eastern philosophies in a very, very profound way. And to present it in a way that's very engaging, and he developed some really, really powerful sort of educational coaching kinds of elements. I think we see that if you attended. I had Rob present in one of the early back in when it was called the talk community, the theory of knowledge community. He presented on that. So that's just my personal connection. What I'd like to share is that, so I got trained in cognitive therapy, okay, from Beck. And the central insight of cognitive therapy is that it's not so much the world in and of itself, okay, but it's how you perceive the world that you want to be attentive to. And Beck teaches you to be focused on, hey, really what I would call your justifications, your automatic attributions, your interpretations, your explanations, and how that shapes you and how to become aware of it. I think that's very valuable stuff. But Rob's stuff is a lot deeper. In fact, I call it the best goddamn cognitive therapy stuff I've ever seen.
It really is.
It's really much deeper. And so what I'd like to say just really quickly is some of the key highlights for me from Rob. Is there anything you want to catch up on, throw into their mix there
No,
or
no, I
anything?
just I agree with all of that. It is the best cognitive framework that I've seen. It's deeper and more profound. It goes at a just a more profound level of understanding that includes just our presence in the world and the different aspects that that can take up, and not simply changing cognitions, changing interpretations. That's an element of it, but I think the realization in both senses of the word, when you actually enact his teachings, is it goes at a deeper level of experience and shift, the
Totally.
real identity shift that he talks about. Yeah.
So for me, what I really loved about Rob's work is the way he really, there are three concepts I want to just highlight really quickly here. And that's the fundamental identity shift, identity shifting, and assuredness of meaning. Okay. And so what Rob focuses on is really instead of sort of like, oh, the lens of my justification, Rob gets you into your participatory lens, to use a John Vervaeke term. And to do it in a way that kind of then situates how you see the world across all different layers. So these lenses then can be perspectival lenses, they can be attribution lenses, and he puts you in contact with those lenses and helps you see how both what you're attending to then relates to yourself, and then you get attached to the meaning. You grip it in a particular way. And what he emphasizes is that, so not only are we like, okay, we're in the world, we're seeing something, and we make the interpretation that's relevant to ourselves, then we have this assuredness of meaning, which he interestingly calls belief, which is really belief investment. This has to be the way it is. I have now found the way to make sense out of this particular thing, and it's relevant to me, and I'm now attached to it. And I came to see really the way in which I divided human consciousness up in terms of the updated tripartite model as really three gripping functions that would interpret the relevance of what was coming in, and then grip it in a particular way. And then depending on how invested you were, that would be how assured you were of the meaning. Okay. So one is the primate experiential self, which if we really want to hone into it, especially kind of in most psychosocial contexts, is really the influence matrix then is a way of like, hey, what's relevant to me? What does this mean about my place? Am I known and valued? What's my competitive, cooperative, freedom relationships with other people? This intuitive sense about, oh, what does this mean about me in relationship to others? The primate heart grips that. It's that felt sense of, am I loved? Am I not loved? How is this going to be?
And it's a very automatic, continuous gripping function, right? It's always there in the background before you even interpret it pre-verbally. You're just gripping all the time.
You're situated. This is what's orienting your attention through the sensory perceptual inputs, then are gripping it, and then they're making sense out of it, and then they're making what's relevant to you, and then the stuff that's relevant that's really going to then connect to your identity, you feel attached to, a assuredness of meaning often, and then you can do that at the level of your felt body, and in primate, automatic, without a lot of self-conscious reflection. You then are narrating this to your ego. This is why this is happening. This is what's going on. And then you're managing your persona, what other people think of me. And this is what they have to think of me. As some people know, and I was in my program, I sort of went through a fight in my program, 2017, 2019. Some things happened, and that shifted my identity, And then I was very sort of indignant with that. And then I had some strong reactions. I didn't handle it in the most mature way possible. And it was in reflection on what Rob was talking about. Is like, yes, I gripped the identity of the meaning and became assured of the meaning. And I lost my ability to be flexible, to move through different perspectives. And this is where Rob's identity shifting comes in. And it's that what he helps is like, hey, you're going to grip it in an identity. In fact, I'm going to suggest maybe it's an identity matrix where you're seeing the thing through a lens, you're making it relevant, and then you're sure of meaning. Once we become aware of that, then we can say, well, hey, are we applying the right identity to the context? And that's identity shifting. That shows that our identity is flexible, that we can move around. So that's the second really key element of what Rob talks about. And then finally, there's this idea that he gets to, which we'll just leave as a teaser here, is a fundamental identity shift. And ultimately, what that's going to be is like, can you transcend the way your ego and core self and personas gripping? You can see that, you can move it around. And then ultimately, can you get in contact sort of really with what is almost prior to the gripping? And that's going to create I think a angle, meaning you can transcend the ego and the self and that kind of thing and get in contact with how you experience the world and actually identify with that. That's the fundamental shift. And that's very powerful. But those are the things that so it's a assuredness of meaning element in an identity matrix. We can see that, engage in identity shifting, and ultimately maybe orient towards what Rob calls the fundamental shift, which will leave as a bit of a teaser. But those are the things I wanted to say. And
that's beautiful. Yes.
About the last thing I'll say in relationship to UTOK is the iQuad coin, is centered around the idea of the human identity. And you and I talk a lot about the rotating of the coin, that is getting in right relationship to what is. I see Rob's fundamental shift, identity shifting, as really, really aligned with what we're trying to get at with the rotation of the And it's really cool that it's the same word, human identity, how we become aware of the identity matrix, how we're going to be wise when we flip the coin.
It's highly convergent, yes. And this idea of like just realizing your presence in pure awareness, right? And seeing ego self persona as multiple different aspects that you can take up, but the ground can be this detached presence of just being. And so that's beautiful. And I'm super looking forward to Rob's next talk. Would be lovely to see people joining and engaging in the discussion, asking questions. Rob's excited. So that's happening next Thursday on the 10th.
That's happening at the 10th, I think at 1 o'clock, right? We'll make some announcements.
Yes, we'll leave the links in the description. Also for his last session, that's also recorded here on YouTube. So we'll leave the link to that in the description as well.
All right. Thank you. We hope to see you there, folks. That'd be great.